Who's ready to splash into the fun-loving world of fish hooks? Yep, we're taking a dive and looking at the entirety of this 2010's cult classic Disney Channel tune from start to end. But before we get into all of that, let's get into our big three main characters. B, Oscar, and Milo. B is our favorite girl fish and the most popular fish in school. She's best friends with Oscar, Milo, and of course, Chelsea.
Yeah, I know.
Next, we have Oscar, the smarter of the two boys. But he's also the one with the worst social skills. He has a raging crush on B throughout basically the entire show, and he's not the best at communicating these feelings. Finally, we have Milo, the fun-loving, comedic relief of the group who's always up for an adventure, even if they put him in grave danger.
Wait a minute, I completely forgot! I don't know how to fly a plane!
And with that, let's jump into the iconic fish hooks. The episode starts off with the fish waking up to picture day, which according to B is one of the most important days of a girl's life. Oscar and Milo try to tell B that it's really not all that, and they point out that she's had like a gazillion picture days in the past. Little do the boys know that this year is different, because it's high school, duh.
Can I get some help with this, please?
B then proceeds to put so much product in her hair and on her face that she has a sneezing fit right as her picture is taken. She asks Clamantha, great name, if she can see the photo, and when she does, she's absolutely dumbfounded by how horrid she looks. She begs Clamantha to let her retake her photo. She refuses, and tells B that since she's the one in charge of the yearbook, she gets to decide what photos go in it. Unfortunately, she believes that B's photo is just fine, and will be going into the book. Mortified, B comes up with a plan to change her photo and get rid of the gross one. She, along with Milo and Oscar, scour for her photo only to come up empty-handed at every turn. They even accidentally take a sneak peek at Clamantha's huge shrine of Oscar in her locker. Creepy. After coming up empty-handed, or should I say empty-finned, it's pretty good, B decides to sneak into the yearbook office to do some real damage. In order to get into said room without Clamantha knowing, they send Oscar to go on a date to distract her since she's apparently completely in love with him. B and Milo are eventually able to find the photo, but Milo is shocked when he realizes that the photo of B is actually really good.
But look! I have fish lips! And my—
She explains to him in every way how she doesn't look good, but Milo emphasizes that she actually looks amazing. She needs to stop being so hard on herself, it's just a normal photo. The episode ends with B accepting the photo for what it is. Her. And she is beautiful. She and Milo then go to rescue Oscar, with B explaining to Clamantha that she and him are already together, which makes Oscar's day, even though B was just acting and doesn't actually like Oscar like that, which puts a damper on his fantasy. Clamantha likes Oscar, Oscar likes B, B doesn't like Oscar. Classic high school drama. Attention. No fish were harmed in the making of this episode. Fish Out of Water begins with Milo begging Oscar and B to go on their out-of-tank adventure. Said adventure is something that they've been dreaming about since they were kids. B and Oscar claim they're too busy, as B has an important audition coming up, and Oscar just doesn't really want to do it. Because the two don't want to use the super cool and awesome wetsuits that Milo had suggested, he chooses to just fling himself out of the tank onto the ground of the pet shop they live in and potentially kill himself, just so that his friends will go out of their tank to rescue him. Right. Because that's what any sane person would do. Anyway, once B and Oscar are out of the tank with Milo, they have basically no choice but to live the out-of-the-tank experience of their dreams for that day. And they actually end up having a lot of fun. Who knew potential sashimi would end up tasting so good?
Maybe he's friendly!
Eventually, things turn sour when the three end up getting attacked by a giant cat, and right before Oscar thinks he's about to die, he attempts to confess his love to B, but is just extremely awkward about it. I'm talking, instead of just saying, "Hey B, I like you," the guy quite literally explains the plot of Super Mario Bros. And hopes that she will get the hint. Thankfully, nobody, especially not B, could pick up on what he was trying to put down.
I wanted to tell you that I'm a plumber!
Excuse
And
me?
the two end up getting rescued by Milo before the situation can get any worse. The episode ends with B getting the part in the musical she's been worried about, and the three celebrate back in the safety of their tank. In our next episode, Oscar tackles high school relationships for the first time, after B constantly decides to go on dates instead of hanging out with him or Milo. Even Milo betrays him eventually, telling Oscar that he's starting to date now, leaving him all alone.
I'll get that kiss someday, Oscar!
Oscar ends up coming up with an idea to pretend he has a long-distance girlfriend so he can also rain check his friends, making him just as cool as the two of them. For some reason though, Oscar didn't expect Bee and Milo to ask a singular question about his girlfriend, and he didn't even have a name picked out. When he gets put on the spot, he came up with Doris Flores Gorgeous. Wow. He also realizes that in order to make it seem like he does actually have a girlfriend, he's gonna have to make it convincing, such as writing himself love letters and, stuff like that. Because Bee and Milo are such good friends with Oscar, and because they find it sad that his relationship is long distance, they decide to surprise their old pal with a trip to go see the definitely very real Flores Doris Gorgeous. Oscar, of course, objects, but nothing seems to be able to stop them.
I am going to write a pop song about this.
And I can have a flute solo. Guys!
Once at their destination, Oscar is greeted by a gorgeous fish who claims to be Doris. Didn't see that one coming, actually. He's confused, but relieved, because he doesn't have to explain anything to Bee and Milo. But because she is indeed real, they have a conversation, which includes a kiss. Okay, Oscar. After a brief chat, Oscar explains the situation to Doris and breaks up with her as he already has his eyes set on somebody else. This someone else obviously being Bee. When he goes back to his friends, it's revealed to the audience that Doris was actually Clamantha, being super weird and dressing up as somebody else in order to kiss Oscar. How weirdly specific and conveniently helpful of Clamantha. The next episode begins with us witnessing Bee's mother treat her like a total baby, trying to tuck her in super early in the night and forcing her to get off of her electronics.
I heard that some dude was totally giving you the eye.
It's true.
In order to escape her childhood fate, Bee wakes up one morning and decides she's going to be an adult. She's going to the big city and gets herself a corporate job, taking Milo and Oscar out of class thinking that they can just goof off together one day. There's just one little problem. Bee didn't know that in order to be an adult, you have to do work, go to meetings, and do a lot of objectively boring things. Bee gets overwhelmed with it all and quits her job, letting her go back to her parents' place and allowing her mother to tuck her in like a little baby, cherishing the time that she has left in her youth. Good on her. In our next episode, Bee is desperate to be the queen bee of their high school dance. But when she finds out that her parents have volunteered a chaperone, she's afraid that it will be too embarrassing for her, and she'll never be nominated. In order to avoid this situation, she asks Milo and Oscar to set up a fake prom at the local retirement center to distract her parents from the real party. The boys agree, and are successful at first.
Your classmates are very nice and very mature for their age.
With Bee going back and forth between the retirement center and prom in order to make it convincing, as she would have to make an appearance at both. Jeez, sounds exhausting. Her plan works though, and the student council awards her queen as they think she's uber cool and very worthy. Unfortunately for her, her path is blocked off to go back to the prom, and she's forced to go through the wilderness and arrives smack dab in the middle of the student council group with mud all up in her hair and looking like a total mess.
Come on, everyone! I'm coming!
Because of this horrendous new look, the council revokes her crown. Bee is disappointed, and things go even more wrong when her parents show up at the real dance. Oscar and Milo are apologetic, but they also point out that it was obvious they were going to find out. All the people at the retirement home go to sleep at like 7. Bee apologizes to her parents, who are shockingly empathetic and not upset at all about what happened. They even tell Bee that while she may not have the crown, she'll always be their queen bee, which makes Bee, along with everybody around her, feel all warm and cozy. Because of the touching moment that Bee shared with her parents, the council decides to give Bee her crown back, ending the episode with celebration. In our next episode, Oscar and Milo suffer from a classic roommate quarrel. Milo is filthy, according to Oscar, and Oscar has too many rules. The two go their separate ways after having enough of each other. Milo eventually finds what works best for him, a den of wolves. Fish wolves, I guess. And Oscar is incredibly happy with his new roommate, their high school principal who suffers from germophobia. At first, the two boys are happy living their separate lives as Oscar is finally clean, and Milo can finally do whatever he wants. But they both quickly realize they made a huge mistake. Milo is cold and hungry with the wolves, attempting to use their food to warm himself, which just makes them chase him around.
What are you doing, roomie?
And Oscar gets really weirded out by their principal after he continuously tells Oscar to throw him at the TV as a way to kill potential diseases. The two boys meet back up and rekindle their roommate relationship, appreciating one another for all that they bring to the table. This next episode begins with Milo showing Bee and Oscar his new favorite show that contains a female hamster that Milo seems to have the hots for. He's a fish, though. I'm not gonna question it. Bee gets frustrated whenever she finds out that the girl from the show is their age and already has her own TV show, which has been one of Bee's dreams for forever. Milo makes a call and tells B that she's able to get on their show almost instantly, which raises concerns for Oscar. But he wants to make B happy, so he ends up going along with it, hoping that it's not a scam. Once there, the fish receive strange treatment, with people commenting on their smell and treating them like they aren't real people. Milo gets himself in his own predicament after dressing up like one of the hamsters and somehow finessing not just a girlfriend, but quite literally the actress from his favorite hamster show. Soon after this, Milo and Oscar find that B was invited on the show not to be a guest, but to be the surprise food that they're asking another hamster to eat in order to win a bunch of money. In order to escape, B comes up with a fake disease that apparently her and Oscar have, so the two can run away safely. The episode ends with them all back at Oscar and Milo's house watching the news. B is happy because even if she's on the TV looking like a zombie, at least she got her 5 seconds of fame without becoming fish flakes. One of the fish in Milo's class gets sick with dropsy and receives special treatment like free food and entertainment.
I did all your homework so you don't have to stress about all that schoolwork you're missing.
Milo sees this as an opportunity and chooses to become sick so that he can have special things too. The only person who sees through his ruse is Oscar, who blatantly tells Milo not to act like that as it's bad, like morally. But of course, Milo doesn't listen. It gets to the point that even when his classmate is healed, he still chooses to pretend to be sick. Unfortunately for Milo, because dropsy is a sickness that only lasts for a week, everybody around him believes that he's part of the rare 5% of fish that never recover. Oscar begs him to tell the truth so that he doesn't get sent away, but he refuses, not understanding Oscar's warning. He's then taken to a huge tank filled with extremely sick, dying fish, which, reasonably, scares him.
Oh my gosh, you gotta help me. They sent me to the wrong tank by mistake.
Despite his fear, nobody's around him anymore that would care to help him out. The episode ends with Milo screaming as his sins finally catch up to him. Okay, moving on for this next episode, Oscar has grown tired of his boring lifestyle with his friends and craves something more edgy. After he goes off on all of his classmates on how their poetry about bunnies isn't real poetry, he's recruited by the emos of his school.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Yeah, we'll have to work on that.
They change his look and hate his happy attitude, altering him to the core and causing him to distance himself from his original friends. He's alerted of a final initiation, and his friends find out about it as well, scared that they'll lose the Oscar that they know and love forever. They show up and try to convince him to come back to them, and it actually works. Oscar gives in and yells at the emo fish leader about how he claims to be all for individuality, but he just nulls out everything that Oscar loves and cares about. You know, the stuff that makes him an individual.
What are you saying?
I'm saying you're judgmental.
Oh.
Because of Oscar's betrayal, the leader throws him, B, and Milo down into their forbidden pit that supposedly contains the worst evil you could ever imagine. The episode ends with them opening their eyes to huge bunnies, which at first seems fine, until bunnies quickly become sinister and attack right as the episode gets off. Don't worry, they're fine. In this next episode, Diary of a Lost Fish, we meet Randy, a crab that's absolutely obsessed with B. He notices B writing in her diary and decides to steal it when she's not looking. At first, she's relieved when she finds out that he has it, as she thought it was missing. But she soon becomes distressed to learn that Randy plans on keeping the diary in order to blackmail her to go on dates with him. Wow, this dude just got here? He's already the worst fish ever. Upset, B obliges but won't go down without a fight. While at a fancy dinner, B has Oscar and Milo sneak into Randy's home to find his own diary.
That's it!
What?
Whenever Randy goes to reveal her diary to the school, B comes back at him with a taste of his own medicine. She reads all of his personal business out loud, and he's shamed for stealing her diary to begin with. The episode ends with him smothered in globs of tomato after the crowd had their way with him. In our next episode, B reveals to Milo that Oscar has a secret talent that he's never shared with her, dressing up and pretending to be the Queen of Fish England. Excited, B encourages Oscar to put on his performance, to which he eventually obliges.
Tea time! Where are the crumpets?
Milo and B take him out on the town since everybody thinks he's the queen and gives him lots of special treatment. Oscar begins to feel sad, as he thinks that Milo and B are only using him to get cool stuff and is convinced that they'd rather hang out with the queen than with one of their best friends. After running away from them, Oscar gets caught up in the lie and is expected to marry.
You don't understand! I'm not really the queen! I'm just a kid!
B and Milo end up saving him, well, mostly B, and they agree to just go home and watch their favorite shows together instead. The episode ends with the queen's perspective, who found out that she looked like a teenager and decided to pretend to be a teenager for the entire day, taking Oscar's place. In this next episode, B plans out a dance for the school talent show and teams up with Clemantha and Chelsea in order to deliver exactly what she's looking for. During their practice of the dance routine,
Watch the windows, booty shake. Walk the dog, do this thing.
Chelsea ends up kicking Clamantha in the face and blaming Chelsea for purposely kicking her. The two begin to bicker, causing B to become distressed, thinking that she won't have anybody to do the talent show dance with her. B even goes to the lengths of manipulating the situation, telling both of the girls that the other apologized and wanting B to tell them, which just wasn't true.
She wanted me to tell you that you were totally right, and she was totally wrong.
Eventually, while talking it out with Oscar and Milo, they do the dance together, resulting in Milo kicking Oscar in the face. B has a light bulb moment and realizes that the reason a kick in the face is occurring is because when she was writing the choreography, she didn't realize that she'd put the two dancers too close together. She explains the situation to Chelsea and Clamantha, who eventually make up, as it wasn't anyone's fault a kick occurred. The episode ends with B and her friends putting on the dance routine of a lifetime, with an edited kick scene, of course. Season 2 starts off with Paranoid, which begins with Oscar, Milo, and their other nerdy friends feeling bad about themselves as they can never seem to get girls to even look at them. They look at Steve Jackson, the most popular fish in school, and wonder what it may be that allows him to look like that, until they notice something fall out of his pocket, Steve's hair gel. The fish gods have finally answered their prayers. Once they begin to use this gel, they instantly rise in the ranks of popularity of the school, not just with girls or students, but even with the teachers, granting themselves easy A's and junk like that. Eventually, though, the hair gel begins to run out, sowing mistrust and competition between the boys as they all want it for themselves.
You have to be perfect tonight!
Well, I need it more.
I need it more than more!
After publicly fighting over it, Steve notices the boys with his gel and confronts them. When the nerdy boys explain their popularity dilemma, they get a long talk from Steve about how it's not always about the way you look, but more frequently about what you're passionate about and your personality. The episode ends with the boys accepting themselves and moving on without the beloved hair gel. B is clearly passionate about football, and when Joctopus rips off his arms in excitement over winning the game, he's down for the count, until his arms regenerate. The coach asks anyone and everybody to try out, but when B shows interest, he shuts her down because she's a girl.
If I let you out on that field the way you are, you'll be crushed!
This obviously upsets B, and she leaves, missing school. Coincidentally, when B leaves school, a new guy shows up who, coincidentally, looks exactly like B. He's determined to make the team and gets moral support, as Oscar is convinced that he's B who's just pretending to be dressed up. After Jake the boy completely fails at the football game,
Hey, thanks for the ball, mister.
No!
the real B shows up with a team of lawyers that she had apparently been recruiting while not at school. Meaning, the entire time Oscar thought Jake the boy was B, was actually just a regular new kid. Also, after confronting the coach about his no girls allowed policy, he explains to B that it was never about her gender, but rather the fact that she wasn't wearing a helmet. B, along with everybody else in the stadium, is relieved that the coach wasn't being weird against girls and cheers on B, as she plays in the last part of the game and absolutely crushes it. The episode ends with B trying out for the all-male play, with all of her friends cheering her on. This next episode gets a little bit wild, as B and Milo are both convinced that the other is in love with them. It all begins when Oscar learns that Milo and Pamela, the hamster from the Hamster Show episode that he was dating, had broken up. Milo confesses to Oscar what happened and proceeds to cry enough to make their tank begin to overflow. In hopes to trade him off to someone more well-equipped to talk to him about his ended relationship, Oscar tells B and begs her to take over.
Hey! Hey!
She obliges and takes Milo out to eat at a diner. Whenever B leaves to use the restroom, Milo's nerdy friends approach and explain to him all of the things that would mean a girl likes you, such as sharing food, wearing makeup, and sitting near him. Whenever B comes back, she proceeds to do all three of those things. Milo, convinced that she likes him, decides to go along with it in order to avoid hurting her feelings. Meanwhile, B picks up on Milo and how he's been acting, and goes along with it as well, trying not to hurt his feelings.
Muffins! They itch!
Eventually, the school catches wind of their relationship and takes a photo of them for the school newspaper with them kissing? After their quote-unquote kiss, the two admit their true feelings to each other and learn that they aren't interested like that and both were just pretending. B hugs Milo, as she's glad that she's a good friend that would rather put himself in harm's way than break her heart. The episode ends with B and Milo having a new, stronger relationship. Oh, and Oscar seeing the photo of them kissing and passing out in the middle of their high school hallway. This next episode begins with Oscar trying his best to coach his incompetent debate team when all of a sudden the fish of his dreams enters the building. Her name is Angela, and it seems as though she's interested in Oscar as well. The only catch is she's the coach on their opponent's debate team.
Oh, I'm Oscar, my name is...
Ooh.
She makes plans to see him again. They go on a wonderful date. But when Oscar returns home, he realizes that his notes for the debate are missing. It was all a ploy. Milo finds Oscar sulking, but cheers him up with some encouraging words and a tickle fight. At the debate, Oscar, instead of sulking, decides to confront Angela head-on, confessing that he feels as though she was using him. She objects, telling him the only reason it seemed like she was spying on him was because she likes to take photos of him and put him into her scrapbook because she just loves to look at him. This totally weirds Oscar out, but he is relieved that she's not a thief. Wondering who the culprit could possibly be, the gang eventually finds out that it was just Randy Pincherson, who says they're all idiots because it was obviously him. He's always the one stealing things.
Man, I should have seen that coming.
The episode ends with Oscar and Angela holding fins and beginning their romantic journey together. In the next episode, Oscar makes Angela his official girlfriend, which terrifies his friends. They go on a long tangent, explaining to Oscar that the moment you actually start dating a girl is the moment that your life ends. No more nerd stuff, no more video games, no more having fun. In order to get all the fun that he could ever need, they take him to a guy's night out. But the only problem is, Oscar never wants it to end. He ends up getting reckless and finds himself way down in a sewer being chewed on by a giant rat. Suddenly, he notices that Angela is down there too. Apparently, she was roped into having a crazy girls' night out and was reckless just like Oscar. Once back in Oscar's house with Milo, they tell Milo how they plan on making the relationship one that's fun. Not like the ones that Milo was thinking of that ended up being boring. The episode ends with Angela's friend Shiloh showing up, who deeply resembles Milo, and catching Milo's eye instantly.
Oh, Shiro!
For our next episode, Oscar is a playa. Things get a little tense in Oscar's new relationship. One of the girls at their high school gets confused whenever Oscar is overly nice to her,
Are you cold? Let me get the heater.
and ends up running to the other girls to tattle on him since he's in a relationship with Angela now. In order to prove his innocence, B decides to go up to Oscar and ask him if he would date one of his good friends right here, right now. But he remains strong and tells B that while her offer may intrigue him, he's dating Angela now and must stay faithful. B ends up going back to tell the other girls that Oscar is loyal, but the girls already put together a video hoping to expose him. Oscar catches wind of this, thinking he's a player.
Get out there and get aggressive!
Veronica or Chelsea?
Oh, hi, Koi.
And he's so anxious about being a bad boyfriend that he actually believes them. He convinces himself that he must break up with Angela because, well, he thinks that she deserves better than a scumbag like him. The girls ask what really went down with Oscar, to which their slug friend tells them everything that he did, but also explains that she's never had a boyfriend before, and the things that Oscar was doing for her seemed more than just friendly. The girls get frustrated with her. In order to save Oscar's relationship, the girls kidnap Angela before he can get to her, and B proceeds to dress up like her in order to handle the conversation. Unfortunately for everybody involved, Oscar attempts to kiss Angela when all of a sudden the real Angela shows up, witnessing Oscar cheat on her. Man, that is brutal. This next episode, Principal B starts off with us learning of B and Oscar's dilemma with how the school has been run lately. Apparently, Principal Stickler has been MIA for a couple of weeks, and none of the other teachers have stepped up to the plate to take his place. B and Oscar sneak into a teacher meeting and listen to see what they plan on doing about the principal's situation. But the only thing they discuss is who's stealing food from the break room. Frustrated, B demands that one of the teachers take over as principal. None of them make any moves, so B nominates herself as principal. The students love her, and she actually does a pretty good job in making the school a much better place. New classes, a raise for the teachers, oh, and her daily dance parties.
New pose, please, Steve.
No problem.
However, things take a turn for the sinister whenever B finds out about Nurse Fishington and her dark secrets. After B's orders as principal get overruled by a different paper supposedly approved by her, she gets suspicious. While investigating, she finds Fishington being a creepy weirdo in the dark of her office. B plays off this fear by jokingly patting Fishington, only to realize that she's made out of metal. Fishington then gets violent and shoots a robotic arm at B, trapping her and threatening her acting future. Fishington explains to B that she was built to be Principal Stickler's right-hand woman, in charge of essentially all of his duties without any of the credit. Fishington has grown tired of being treated with such little respect, and will be ruling the school from now on. The school quickly loses all respect and admiration for B whenever her rules, or rather Fishington's rules, get too out of hand.
We gather once more to share our discontent for the tyrants, Principal B!
But B is determined to convince them that it isn't really her. When Milo and Oscar find out about this, they work together with B. The trio eventually finds Principal Stickler trapped in a filing cabinet and asks him what on earth changed with Fishington to make her act this way. He tells them that a couple of weeks ago she tripped and fell on top of him, stabbing herself with one of his spikes, and the next thing he knew, he woke up in the filing cabinet. The group heads to Stickler's secret office where he tries to shut down Fishington from his control panel, but it doesn't work. B examines her and notices one of Stickler's spikes stuck in the side of her face, and proceeds to pin her down along with Oscar and Milo successfully freeing the spike and shutting down Fishington. Whenever she wakes up, she doesn't remember anything. Because of her Terminator-like outburst, Stickler realizes how much he takes Fishington for granted. Wanting to make things right, he promotes Fishington to be the official principal of the school. For our next episode, it's prom season again, and the fish are super excited to celebrate. B is at first anxious about who she's going to go with, but ends up easily being able to go with the most popular guy in school, Steve Jackson. Oscar is also excited for the dance and plans on asking his girlfriend Angela. But when he does, she's less than excited and asks Oscar if they could skip the dance and play video games instead. Oscar is disappointed, and Angela notices and reassures him that she'll go with him if that's what he'd like to do. Unfortunately though, when Angela does show up for the dance, she's wearing a VR helmet and is completely oblivious to everything that's happening around her. This upsets Oscar, as he wanted to make the night special for the both of them. Meanwhile, B's night doesn't go as planned either, as she wanted to make the night special with Steve, but he ended up getting locked in a closet and abandoning her for the night. B ends up slamming into a bowl of punch, which spills all over her dress and gets beat by a hamster for prom queen. Back with Oscar, he ends up confronting Angela about the way that her headset makes him feel. Instead of saying that all he wanted was one night with her, he accidentally says,
And all I wanted was that one dance with you, B!
Oh no. Furious, Angela leaves Oscar and tells B that he's all hers. Not knowing what Angela meant by that, B flees the prom and goes back to her favorite diner with Oscar following closely behind. B opens up to Oscar about how cruddy her night has been, and how she didn't even get to have her special dance. Oscar then tells B that he's not going to let both of their nights go down like that, and offers her a dance with him. The two dance the night away, ending with a kiss and tender smiles. Back at the dance, Angela's about to throw away her headset when all of a sudden she's interrupted by Jumbo Shrimp, who asks her about it. The two instantly fall for each other, ending the episode with newfound love and confusion. In this next episode, B comes to her friends with horrible news. Her father needs a better job, so they're moving away. Of course, everyone is extremely distraught and refuse to let it happen. In order to keep B in town, Oscar and Milo come up with their own business, selling boxes. B has her dad come in for an interview, and he instantly gets the job and does really well.
Now, if you beg your pardon...
Even announcing to them that he made a box contract for 1,000 boxes. The kids start freaking out, as there's no way that they can make 1,000 boxes overnight, since, they don't actually own a factory or a business. Eventually, B's father walks in on them talking about the plan and figures out that the whole company is a lie. He then has to teach the kids how to make boxes in order to get the order done in time. Once they get the money and a new order for more boxes, B's dad decides to claim the company as his own and stay in Freshwater. He also just feels incredibly bad for almost taking B away from a town where she's such good friends that would go so far out of their way just to keep her in town for a little while longer. In this next episode, B and the other fish are wanting to put on a play, but there aren't any funds left to pay for it. B approaches Fishington and asks if she would help them, but all Fishington does is yell error and shoot lasers whenever B mentions theater. To figure out what is short-circuiting in her brain, Jumbo Shrimp instructs the other fish to go inside of her brain and fix it.
You only have until sunrise, because that's when Fishington will power back on.
But when B goes into Fishington's memories, she witnesses Fishington get shut down at a young robot age for not being able to act with facial expressions like regular fish, causing her to short-circuit and get extremely sad and distraught when anybody brings up theater. To help Fishington get through her dark memories and keep the hope of a school play alive, B and her other friends decide to write a part for Fishington in the show, allowing her to finally live out her childhood dream. It's kind of a sweet episode. Moving on, Oscar and his friends have plans for a movie night, but when Jumbo Shrimp shows up, he asks Oscar if it's okay that he's dating his ex-girlfriend Angela. Oscar is shocked, but he's fine with it. Angela says hello to everybody there, but completely ignores Oscar. She also picks out movies that are basically just retellings of the way he broke up with her at prom. Feeling bad, Oscar realizes that he needs to tell Angela that he's sorry for everything that happened in order for there to be closure.
I can't quite see what it says.
He ends up doing exactly that, and she forgives him, emphasizing that their breakup has led to her true love, Jumbo Shrimp. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love Jumbo Shrimp? In this special episode, we get to see what all the fish would look like as regular humans. It begins with Milo waking up from a crazy dream where he tells them that in his dream they were all fish. He also gets kind of existential and weird, wondering which of his realities is the real one.
Mega crush on Fish B.
What? Really?
His human friends are concerned for him. So concerned, in fact, that they put him in therapy as they have no idea what he's talking about. The only two people who believe Milo are Jumbo Shrimp and Albert Glass, who end up conducting an experiment on him. They hope that this experiment will bring him back to the fish world. Unfortunately for Milo, instead of going to his fish reality, he ends up getting put in a strange farm animal simulation. Once back as a human, Milo frantically searches for the fish tank in order to go back to his fish life, as he's now certain that he isn't meant to be a human. He enlists Bee and Oscar's help, and the three of them successfully lay eyes on the tank that somehow has legs? The three chase after it, with Bee and Oscar finally admitting that something strange is going on for sure. And Milo must actually be dreaming, as a tank running away is not normal. Milo is eventually able to dive into the tank back into his fish body. The episode ends with him doing a happy dance, realizing that it was a dream the entire time. Wow, that one was pretty trippy.
What? Should I have gone with vertical stripes?
In this next episode, the fish of Freshwater High are going off to camp, and Oscar is hopeful that he and Bee will be able to spend some time together. That is, until she drops the bomb on him that she's currently going after Brandon Bubbler, one of the most popular guys in school and also an inspiring musician. While at camp, Bee is head over heels for Bubbler, until she catches him writing a song for some other girl. Meanwhile, none of the fish like camp, and they decide to flee. While at the docks, gearing up to go over to the neighboring island called Crystal Freshwater, they're caught by their coach, who explains the lore behind the two islands. Apparently, Crystal Freshwater was created by Coach Salmon's older sister, and they've basically been competing their entire lives. Feeling bad for Salmon's, the kids decide to go over to his sister's island and absolutely trash the place, along with getting him his own trophy for being the best coach and having the best island. His sister ends up approaching and apologizing if she's ever made it seem like she was competing with Salmon. She wasn't. After all this time, it turns out that she just loves her little brother and wants to be near him at all times. Her moving her island right next to his had nothing to do with trying to one-up him, but rather she just wanted to spend every summer with him. Aw. After their sibling quarrel is worked out, Bee turns down Bubbler.
Hey, shawty, I've been looking for you everywhere. I got this new rhyme about my feelings I should throw at you.
And tells Chelsea that she feels like she's been going after the wrong type of guys while smiling and waving at Oscar. In this next episode, Milo hears about the fish who invented freshwater and sets out to defrost him as he turned himself into a fish stick. Once he does, he and the founder cause trouble all over town trying to revert it to its old glory, consisting of trains, and more trains.
I get to ride on this train 3 times for $1. Can I have $1?
After destroying a bunch of public property, Milo and the founder are put in jail. It's there when they start talking about their interests, trains and apps. With that, they get the brilliant idea to create an app with a train in it. The episode ends with every fish playing their new app, with Milo and the founder swimming in a bathtub full of their new money. Okay, folks, it is final episode time. Bee begins truly questioning her friendship with Oscar and how she may potentially feel. The fish's graduation is coming up, and Oscar also feels as though his time is ticking down in making a decision on whether to finally tell Bee his real feelings. The two share many heart-touching moments together.
Oscar, why are you so sweet to me?
I'm sweet?
And it becomes obvious to not only them but also their close friends and parents that the two may like each other as more than just friends. Finally, at their graduation, Oscar confesses, but Bee tells him she doesn't know how she feels yet, until she goes up on stage and gives her high school speech. After reliving all of her and Oscar's amazing memories together, she ends up confessing on the stage to everyone that she likes Oscar more than a friend. The episode ends with a song sequence mimicking the intro, with all the fish celebrating.
1, 2, 3, 4, who's that knocking at my door?
And getting ready to move out and move on with their lives. I'm not crying, you're crying. And with that, we end Fishhooks. Like and subscribe if you want more content like this in the future. Oh, and leave a comment on whether you think Oscar should have ended up with Angela or Bee. Thanks so much for watching. See ya!